Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we are tackling, well, one of history's most intense, you could say, architectural and moral surveys.
Mm-hmm. Intense is the word.
We are descending straight into the worldview of Dante Alighieri, really digging into his Inferno.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to try and understand this epic poem, not just, as poetry.
Right, more than just verses.
But as this incredibly detailed, deeply personal political and moral reckoning, specifically for 14th century Italy.
That's absolutely right. When you look at the source material, the Inferno is really Dante trying to figure out why his world and frankly his own life sort of fell apart.
Right.
His journey kicks off after he's gone astray, which is symbolic, of course, moral decline, maybe intellectual too.
Okay.
And the whole narrative mixes actual historical events with these prophetic moments. You have dead souls he meets delivering predictions.
Predictions about things that had already happened by the time people were reading it.
Exactly, which turns it into this really bitter commentary on the state of Italy, on the politics of the time.
And the personal stakes for Dante himself were just immense, weren't they?
Oh, completely. This whole work is just steeped in his personal suffering, his experience.
He was a big deal in Florence politically. A white Guelph.
Prominent figure, yes. But then he got condemned in absentia for supposed corruption back in 1302. It was during his very short time in office.
And he wouldn't pay the fine they demanded?
Nope, refused. So they changed the sentence. Perpetual exile. So this whole journey through the afterlife, it's him justifying that exile, justifying himself, and casting judgment on everyone he felt betrayed him and his ideals.
You really can't understand the Inferno without getting that political backdrop.
To really appreciate the depth of that judgment, yeah, you absolutely have to understand the toxic political world he was living in. Italy wasn't unified then.
No, just a mess of warring city-states.
A patchwork, exactly. And defined mainly by these two big factions.
The Ghibellines and the Guelphs. That's the main split.
Right. Ghibellines generally backed the Holy Roman Emperor. They tended to be, more rural, agricultural families focused on imperial power.
And the Guelphs.
Pretty much the opposite. They were the papal supporters. Often wealthy merchants controlling the big cities, Florence especially.
But then it gets even more complicated because the Guelphs themselves split.
Exactly. That's where the real trouble, at least for Dante, starts. Once the Guelphs basically won out and the papacy got too influential, the Guelph faction in Florence just fractured venomously.
Into the Black Guelphs and the White Guelphs.
Mm-hmm. The Black Guelphs strongly supported staying dependent on the papacy, especially Pope Boniface VIII. He's a key figure here.
And the White Guelphs. That was Dante's side.
That was Dante's faction, yeah. And they fiercely opposed that level of dependence on Rome. They wanted more Florentine independence.
Okay, so understanding Dante's political anger means understanding his ideal for how the world should work.
Exactly. He had this very clear vision. He believed God set up two separate equal authorities. He actually lays this out in his other work, Monarchia.
Two distinct roles.
Yes. The emperor was supposed to be solely responsible for temporal justice, peace, social order, earthly matters.
And the Pope.
The Pope's job was purely spiritual. Guidance, salvation, nothing to do with worldly power.
And Dante's argument was that Italy fell into chaos, into sin, because both sides basically dropped the ball.
Pretty much. Emperors neglected keeping the peace, let things fall apart. And the popes, well, Dante saw them as driven by greed, chasing worldly power, and completely abusing their spiritual role.
Which leads us straight to his critique of the papacy itself. I mean, the source material is just scathing.
He pulls absolutely no punches. He judges the clergy of his time, monks, bishops, popes, on one main thing. Were they corrupt? Were they greedy? Were they seeking earthly power?
And in his view, most of them failed that test.
Miserably, according to him. He's incredibly bold about it. He really targets Pope Boniface VIII, who was pope during the fictional time of the journey, 1300.
But not just him.
No, he extends it. He goes after Boniface's predecessor, Celestine V, the one who resigned, and even Boniface's successor, Clement V. He condemns them all for having, as he puts it, gone astray, leading others astray too.
And this connects to how hell itself is structured.
Crucially, Dante sees the structure of hell, all the specific punishments, as God's perfect proportional justice. He has a term for it, contrapasso.
Contrapasso. Like counter-suffering.
Sort of, yeah. The punishment has to fit the crime, perfectly reflecting the nature of the earthly sin. The eternal suffering mirrors the transgression.
That idea of proportional justice, divine justice, really shapes the whole Inferno.
It underpins everything.
And this search for justice, both political and moral, also brings up one of the big mysteries in the poem, doesn't it? The prophecy of the greyhound.
Ah, the Veltro.
Yeah.
Yes, the sources really emphasize this figure. It's presented as this awaited leader or maybe a movement.
What's special about it?
It's supposed to be completely free from greed, living only on love, virtue, wisdom. And this greyhound, this Veltro, is prophesied to restore peace and justice to Italy
No?
by reforming both sides, the temporal empire and the spiritual papacy, getting them back to their proper roles.
Any ideas who or what it represents?
Well, commentators have linked it to historical figures like the Emperor Henry VII, who Dante had hopes for. But, many also think the source material suggests it might be more symbolic, maybe even a reference to Dante's own poetry.
His work is the reforming power.
Possibly. The power of his words to expose corruption and point towards truth, it's debated.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the political why behind the Inferno. Let's get into the physical how, the journey itself.
Right.
It all starts with Dante being completely lost, that famous dark and gloomy forest.
Yes, and the sources explain this as symbolic of his own state. He's lost the right path. To find salvation, he has to, well, metaphorically, die before dying.
Meaning he has to travel through hell and then purgatory.
Exactly, to fully understand the nature of sin, of evil, before he can ascend.
So what are the very first steps into this underworld?
Well, even before you get to the first official circle of hell, there's this sort of entry zone, an antechamber.
And who's there?
This is for the truly pathetic, in Dante's view. The uncommitted, the neutral souls.
People who didn't choose sides.
Precisely. And crucially, this includes the angels who were neutral during Lucifer's rebellion. Neither rebellious enough for Satan, nor faithful enough for God, just indifferent.
Wow. And their punishment.
It's profound in its lack of dignity. They aren't accepted by heaven, but hell doesn't want them either. They're just stuck in this vestibule.
Doing what?
Eternally chasing a blank banner, stung constantly by wasps and hornets, and their blood and tears drip down to feed repulsive worms writhing at their feet.
That's grim. It feels like a really strong statement from Dante.
It is. He's basically saying indifference, neutrality in the face of moral conflict is contemptible. Almost worse than actively choosing evil, in a way.
Because they never stood for anything.
Exactly. Their contrapasso is perfect. Since they never committed to anything meaningful in life, they're now forced into this endless, pointless pursuit, committed to nothing and totally ignored by both God and Satan. Utterly insignificant.
Okay, so below this entry zone, that's where the actual circles begin.
Yes, the 9 circles proper. It's visualized as this giant conical pit descending deeper and deeper towards the center of the earth.
And there are gatekeepers.
Oh, yes. First, you have to cross the river Acheron. The ferryman is Chiron from classical myth.
And then you meet the judge.
Minos, another figure from mythology, the ancient Cretan king. He stands at the entrance to the second circle, and he judges every soul that comes down.
How does he assign them their place?
By wrapping his monstrous tail around his body, the number of times it wraps indicates the circle the soul is condemned to.
Okay, so circle 1, what's there?
Circle 1 is limbo, and it's
Yes.
different. It's a crucial place, actually quite privileged compared to the rest of hell.
Privileged.
It's where the virtuous pagans reside. Those who lived good lives but were born before Christ or were never baptized. So unbaptized infants are here, ancient heroes.
And thinkers.
And the great thinkers, yes. Their only suffering isn't physical torment. It's a kind of gentle despair, a constant sadness because they lack the hope of ever seeing God. It's separation, not active pain.
Who does Dante specifically mention being there? It's quite a list, isn't it?
It is. The sources highlight the great poets, Homer, Horace, Ovid, Lucan. He sees Aristotle there and calls him the master of those who know. High praise.
But didn't he include some non-Christians who weren't ancient Greeks or Romans?
Yes, and this is really fascinating. He shows a surprising intellectual inclusiveness for his time. He places 3 prominent Muslim figures in limbo. Saladin, the noble sultan, and the great philosophers Avicenna and Averroes.
Wow. So he's recognizing their massive contributions to human thought and civilization, even outside the Christian tradition?
It seems so. It suggests that for Dante, human reason and wisdom have immense value in themselves, even if, in his theology, they ultimately fall short of divine salvation without faith.
But once we move past limbo, we get into actual physical punishment, right? Starting with sins of weakness.
Correct. We enter the realm where the contrapasso becomes physical torment, matching the sin.
Which brings us to circle 2. Lust. Let's look at the punishment here. What happens to them?
These souls are caught in an internal, violent, dark storm, a kind of hellish hurricane. They're just constantly swept up, dragged, tossed about by these fierce winds endlessly.
And the symbolism, the contrapasso.
It's very precise. In life, their reason was overwhelmed by the storm of passion. They let carnal desire dictate their actions.
So in hell, they're subjected to a literal physical storm forever.
Exactly. It shows how their minds were enslaved by passion. And you find famous sort of tragic lovers here. Paris and Helen, Achilles, Tristan and Isolde.
And Dante speaks to two of them, doesn't he? Francesca and Paolo.
He does, and it's a famous moment because Dante admits feeling intense pity for them, for their story. He even faints from compassion.
So he sympathizes.
He does feel pity, yes. And that reaction is really important. It serves as a reminder to you, the reader, and maybe Dante, reminding himself just how tempting and powerful this particular sin of human weakness can be. It feels relatable, almost romantic.
Right.
But the structure of hell immediately snaps back. Despite the pity, despite the tragic romance, God's justice still decrees this is a grave moral failing. It results in eternal torment. It really sets the tone for the moral rigor of the whole journey. No exceptions.
Okay, moving deeper. Circle 3. Who's here?
The gluttonous. Those who overindulged in food and drink beyond all reason.
And their punishment.
They lie in this vile, disgusting, freezing mud. And they're eternally tormented by a ceaseless, cold, filthy rain. The sources mention hail, dirty water, snow, just bombardment from above.
Ugh, anything else?
Oh, yes. They're constantly barked at and clawed by the grotesque three-headed demon dog Cerberus, another figure borrowed from mythology.
So the filth and the constant pelting. Yeah. That's the contrapasso for overindulgence.
Yes. They lived in excess and waste, so now they lie in filth, eternally consuming this putrid muck under this miserable, icy slush. Complete lack of comfort or dignity.
And is there a political connection here, too? Dante seems to bring it back to Florence often.
He does, almost immediately. It's here, in the muck of Circle 3, that he encounters a soul named Siaco.
A Florentine.
A Florentine, known for his gluttony. And Siaco delivers one of the early key prophecies in the Inferno.
What does he predict?
He foretells the bitter conflict that will erupt between the white and black Guelph factions back in Florence. And crucially, he predicts the eventual exile of the White Guelphs.
Which is Dante's own faction.
Exactly. So right away, Dante ties this landscape of eternal sin directly back to the political turmoil that destroyed his own life and city.
It's never just about abstract sin, is it?
Never. It's always grounded in the specific damnation he sees in Florence and Italy.
Okay, one more for today. Circle 4.
Avarice and prodigality, the hoarders and the squanderers. Two sides of the same coin, really an unhealthy obsession with material wealth.
So sins related to money. How are they punished?
They are divided into two groups, moving in opposite semicircles. Each group is forced to push these enormous heavy weights with their chests
Open to more.
towards each other. They collide violently in the middle, then turn around and push the weights back, only to crash again. Endlessly.
Symbolizing the uselessness of it all?
The utter futility and absurdity of their obsession with wealth and life. And as they crash, they scream insults at each other. Why did you hoard and why did you squander?
Just this eternal, pointless conflict over material things.
Precisely. And pay attention to who Dante finds among the orders, specifically. The sources make a point of confirming. Many of them are corrupt clergymen.
Really? Popes and cardinals?
Yes. Priests, cardinals, even popes themselves. But here's the detail. Their faces are so covered in filth, so tarnished by their time in this circle, that they are completely unrecognizable.
What does that signify?
It symbolizes how their obsession with money and worldly gain totally corrupted their spiritual identities, their divine roles. Dante is making a powerful statement here. The church's greed has made its leaders indistinguishable from any other common, greedy sinner, unrecognizable in God's eyes.
Wow. Okay, so just in these first few circles, this deep dive really shows how Dante is weaving everything together. Classical myth.
Minos, Charon, Cerberus.
Intricate Christian theology, the idea of contrapasso.
And incredibly sharp personal political commentary.
He's literally using hell as this detailed, precise mirror to judge the political and moral corruption he saw all around him in his time.
Absolutely. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, what Dante is doing is setting up this really clear, rigorous moral hierarchy of sin.
We've seen the sins of weakness so far: lust, gluttony, avarice, prodigality. They're bad, punished horribly, but they're in the upper circles.
Right. The implication is clear. The sins that involve violence, fraud, and especially treachery, Those are far worse in God's eyes. They lie much deeper down in the pit.
So the whole journey is like a moral education, learning this divine architecture of sin.
A very rigorous one, yes. While at the same time, he's still holding out some hope for reform, for figures like that greyhound, the Veltro, to appear and fix things.
So thinking about this for you, the listener,
Right.
what this deep dive really underlines is that literature this old isn't just some dusty text.
Not at all.
It can be this incredibly powerful key to understanding history, politics, moral philosophy, social critique, all delivered with this astonishing detail and, well, personal fire. Remember, Dante's whole journey starts because he felt he was lost, focused on the wrong things.
On worldly deceivers, as the source material puts it.
Exactly.
Indeed. And perhaps, to leave you with a final thought to mull over, consider this. Much later, when Dante reaches paradise, he meets his own ancestor, Cacciaguida.
Okay.
Cacciaguida talks a lot about Florence's past glory and decay. But interestingly, Dante avoids mentioning something potentially uncomfortable, his own father's likely profession.
Which?
Probably usury or money lending. A practice Dante himself condemns harshly, placing usurers in one of the lower, more severe circles of hell as committing a sin against nature and God. He saw it as a key cause of Florence's moral rot.
So Dante is silent about his own father's connection to a sin he despises.
It seems that way. Which raises a question, doesn't it? Does this deliberate silence, this potential blind spot, show that even the most rigorous moral critic, someone building this entire structure of divine justice, might still struggle to confront the most uncomfortable truths when they hit too close to home within their own lineage?